It's only 24 degrees, but I'm sweating. Later this summer, the heat will be unbearable. The climate crisis is making hot days more common for a lot of people. And it's getting dangerous, especially if you live in a city. There are plenty of ways to keep cool.
But this is one you've probably never heard of. Climate shelters, like here in Barcelona.
The city has created a massive network of places where people can go to escape the scorching summer heat. It's not only about comfort, but also about saving lives and reducing inequality. They're becoming a common part of dealing with hotter temperatures, and Barcelona is a city many look to for inspiration. I'm here to see how people are cooling down,
Wow!
what's not working, and what other cities can learn as our planet heats up. This map shows the Barcelona districts most vulnerable to heat waves. We're here, at the Museu Frederic Marès, a museum that's been turned into a climate shelter. I'm spending the day with Dr. Ana Terra Amorim Maya.
Hi, nice to meet you, Amanda.
A researcher at the Basque Center for Climate Change.
Wow, it's super beautiful in here.
Yeah, right?
She did her PhD at the Autonomous University of Barcelona on the city's network of climate shelters.
What actually is a climate shelter?
Actually, they're just places that are open to any citizen who might need it in a situation of extreme heat or extreme cold.
Why is that important for people to have a space like this in a city like Barcelona?
So Barcelona is very densely populated, and many of the buildings don't really have good thermal insulation. So that means that when it's hot, it's very hot indoors, and when it's cold, it's very cold indoors. So then the city council decided to start adapting their existing public spaces. So right now, the city of Barcelona has 98% of their population within a 10-minute walk from a climate shelter in the city.
There are over 350 of them spread around the city. They're open to the public and have to maintain an indoor temperature under 27 degrees Celsius. Located on the coast and pushed up against the mountains, Barcelona is far from the hottest city in Spain. Unlike those in other parts of the country, buildings here aren't designed for extreme heat. The city is an architectural soup of sorts, and limited space has meant that it's been built and rebuilt again and again. It used to be completely surrounded by a medieval wall, which got knocked down. Then it got its famous blocks as a response to poor living conditions of the city's working class. During Franco's rule, both social housing and unregulated buildings sprung up. Now as temperatures rise, Barcelona needs to find ways to cool down itself and its citizens. Climate shelters are a part of that.
Have you ever eaten any of these oranges?
I have, in fact. They're awful. I do not recommend, unless you want to have a traumatic experience of putting something extremely sour in your mouth. But they are more decorative. They look very pretty, and they do offer some shade. Yeah, but don't eat them.
Climate shelters also have to offer water, as well as places to sit and bathrooms.
Buen día.
Can we have a glass of water?
In Barcelona, tap water is safe to drink.
As much as you want, okay?
Thank you. Yes.
And the glass is for you. You can take it with you.
Cheers. So you might think that actually 27 degrees is not that cool, and it isn't, but you're not gonna perish. You know, you're gonna be fine.
That's one of the main aims here, to protect people from dangerous heat. A study estimated that in 2022, there were over 60,000 heat-related deaths in Europe alone. Spain is one of the countries with the most. And cities like Barcelona are heat traps. Full of concrete and asphalt, they can be around 10 degrees hotter than the surrounding countryside. Cooling them is really hard. So a benefit of the shelters is that they can be easy to set up.
So turning this into a climate shelter was really low cost. It was already cool inside, and all they had to do was designate a space for the public. But we're gonna head to a climate shelter now that's kind of a climate shelter plus. They've actually adapted it to be a cooler place.
Infrastructure adaptations come in 3 flavors. Gray means changes to anything human-made. Green involves trees and other plants. Blue adaptations have to do with water. The next shelter, a school, had all 3. To see how they were applied, we met with Mar, Campanero y Sala, and Jaume Barnada, members of the City Council.
La idea es conseguir que el año 2030, el objetivo es que el 2030 tengamos ya una red con una cobertura de un 100% de la población que pueda tener un refugio a menos de 5 minutos caminando de sus casas.
This one has been cooled using passive architecture, a way of building that controls temperature without using extra energy.
Esto lo hicimos precisamente creando una chimenea de aire caliente que sube, entonces el aire caliente se va y se refresca este patio. Entonces tuvimos que hacer dos cosas. Primero, que siempre estuviera ventilado por algunos de los dos lados, en planta baja, pero también se quedan ventilaciones en las partes superiores de todas las ventanas. De tal manera que este aire, cuando sube, chupa el aire caliente, extrae aire caliente de las aulas. Y finalmente lo que hicimos fue levantar el techo 40 centímetros para que todo este aire caliente salga hacia afuera.
In the courtyard of the school, there were also blue adaptations, like this fountain.
Es un ejemplo pequeñito, pero es un ejemplo muy útil. Vete aquí, ven. ¿Va?
Yeah.
¡Wow!
Oh, so nice.
And lastly, the green adaptations.
La palmera ya existía y plantamos un árbol. Los árboles que plantamos son así pequeños,
Okay, yeah.
pero realmente lo que hicimos fue esto. Fue crear todo este espacio verde y de sombra, que es un espacio magnífico, lo que pasa es que necesita que crezca.
What have been the greatest challenges here with this project?
Tenemos que ampliar la cobertura de esta red para que llegue a todos los barrios. También otro reto que tenemos es que los refugios puedan abrir también en agosto.
This is a big hole in the network. Many shelters are closed during the hottest month.
Bueno, aquí hay dos opciones, o buscar refugios que ya por su funcionamiento abran en este horario o realmente encontrar recursos económicos para poder abrir estos espacios también durante esta época. Entonces,
yo creo que está bien que subamos al patio este, a la cubierta esta, para que veáis el ejemplo principal.
Compared to downstairs, it's actually the temperature here is way lower.
Con métodos pasivos, lo que se llama arquitectura pasiva, se puede bajar mucho la temperatura sin necesidad de gastar energías. Simplemente verde y humedad, y ya está.
An important aspect of passive architecture used for cooling is the roof. It can be painted white or have greenery added. This one has been used to create that air chimney. In total, all of these changes cost around 250,000 euros and lowered the indoor temperature by 5 degrees. The adaptations from the school can also be extended into the city space. Barcelona's removed asphalt, banned cars in certain areas, green streets, and has a water fountain now.
We're here.
Okay.
We can try walking this way and then right, and then we can hopefully pass 2 water fountains on the way.
Yeah, sounds good.
Although the drinking fountains were working fine,
Not a button.
the same wasn't true for the decorative ones.
Well, we are in a drought, so.
Heat is the #1 killer of all climate and weather events.
Amy Boughtonhouse manages a network of cities that are specifically focused on addressing extreme heat.
Around 14% of the world lives under extreme heat conditions, and we expect this to grow to 45% by 2050.
Globally, many countries are already dealing with heat more extreme than we're seeing in Barcelona.
In informal settlements and homes with tin roofs, which can be really common in India, let's say, temperatures can get up to 50 degrees.
And climate shelters, also called cooling centers, are part of many countries' heat action plans. Other aspects include greening streets, installing drinking fountains, and cooling roofs, just like in Barcelona. But these plans must consider that some are more vulnerable than others.
People who die of extreme heat are often seniors. They're often people living alone. They're people with chronic illness and disabilities. This really shows us that this is about building community and about having cities where people feel included, and that this is actually something that's life-saving.
The importance of community can be seen at our next stop in Barcelona, La Prosperitat. This area of the city is lower income, which typically also means hotter.
There's more concrete, fewer trees, which means less shade. The buildings are also older, which means it's way harder to keep them cool.
People are also less likely to be able to afford air conditioning.
So there are climate shelters in this neighborhood, but people don't really use them so much. Instead, they come to community centers like this one.
Even though it's not an official climate shelter, this place fulfills all the requirements. It's cool inside, has drinks, water, bathrooms, and places to sit. Most importantly, it's where the community goes.
Bueno, aquí, aparte de ser una casa de la comunidad, se pasan muchas actividades. Somos una cooperativa, todas mujeres, casi todas somos mujeres racializadas aquí en Barcelona.
Do people come here to kind of escape the heat and to stay cool?
Yes, sí, por supuesto, sí. Nosotras somos, llevando a la cooperativa, ya lo intentamos el año pasado de abrir, Lo hicimos, gente lo agradeció mucho y este año quisieran, pero para nosotros no nos salió en las cuentas.
They say they would need a subsidy to be able to open in August, and that would help people in this neighborhood.
No, bueno, a veces hay un bar al lado de mi casa que lo tienen. Bueno, tienen aire, voy allí, estoy bien y luego voy a casa. Es casar y bar, pero que se puede hacer también así, de esa manera. No les costaría nada.
He escuchado, sí, no he estado todavía.
Movimientos de ellas, no sé bien cuáles son todas. Locales que tengan aire acondicionado. El Casal, por ejemplo, que es un centro social, sitios así, donde haya aire acondicionado se esté fresco.
So what kind of improvements do you think that there could be to the climate shelter network?
So I think the network needs to be accessible. And when I say accessible, I mean it needs to be well distributed across the city. It needs to be accessible for people with disabilities. And it needs to be accessible also from a cultural point of view, so that everyone who needs shelter feels welcomed and feels like they belong in that space.
So, for example, in a neighborhood like this, the government shouldn't necessarily make any random building a climate shelter, but instead really look at like what the needs of the people are in the area.
Exactly, what the needs of the people are and the spaces that people are already using as a shelter without necessarily calling it a shelter.
This is a really important consideration, as more cities around the world make plans to keep people cool. Because it's only getting hotter, and while climate shelters are a simple, cheap solution, the difference between one that people use and one that they don't could save lives.